Hi, and welcome back. If you recall the previous video, we actually went to our local art store and we actually bought everything that we needed to start oil painting. And today we are going to paint. What are we painting? Check this out. Naturally, you can paint anything you want. You do not have to do the same as me. For centuries, we've been painting vases and flowers and different fruits, so of course it's up to you to paint whatever you want. I decided to go for the orange because that's what I have. And being a round object, light will bounce off and I can get highlights, cast shadows, make something interesting out of something simple. Of course, I'm not looking to make a masterpiece. I'm not looking to be the next Da Vinci. I'm just looking to have fun and put paint onto my canvas. So let me show you how I did it. The colors that I'm using will appear on the screen. Now, naturally, use what you have in your pack or that you bought individually. And the mediums of choice is just the basic linseed oil and the odorless mineral spirits. The first thing I do is to actually draw the subject onto the canvas. I'm using an 11 round with some burnt umber, which has been diluted with some turpentine. And I'm just looking for the basic shapes. In this case, it's a circle with a horizontal line to separate the background with the table that it's resting on, and an oval, which will represent, of course, the shadow. I'm looking at the moment for nothing else, just to see how it will be. Following that, I'm starting to think about where my dark is. My darkest dark, which will be the background, just placing a little bit of that same burnt umber on top, and I can actually see how the orange is going to be placed onto the canvas. I've noticed that it's a little bit too small, so I'm going to adjust the size. I'm making it a little bit larger, and I've noticed as well that the turpentine, there's a little bit too much in the paint, so using a paper towel, I wipe away. But you can see wiping away actually allows me to cover the canvas extremely quickly, and now I have a very good idea as to where the orange will be, if it's big enough, and in this case to me, it's good to go. Now I'm using a mixture of burnt umber with ultramarine blue with a little dash of linseed oil. It's really a drop, and it will give me a very rich dark tone, almost black. All I'm looking to do is to place the darkest areas. Now for the shadow, it's actually under the orange, so I'm trying to position of where the darkest shadow will be. What I mean by that as well is, of course, where there's the least amount of light. Now, having the same color, I just use a little bit of white to give a little bit of a gray tone to put a little bit of shadow. Using the burnt umber, I've added quite a lot of white and just a touch of that gray for a very light tone, and just painting the table. It's just to get the color. Of course, I will be adjusting the actual value in a minute. Now for the orange. It's a mix of vermilion with a little bit of yellow, so I'm keeping it relatively dark and following the actual shape of the fruit. I'm just indicating the dark side of the orange. Now, following it around is what we would call the brush stroke, which is something relatively important in painting. The objective of your brush stroke is to give the illusion of the form of the object. Now, if I was just painting on a straight line from top to bottom or left to right, it will actually break the illusion that the orange is around. With a circular brush stroke, I will actually keep that illusion. And as I'm moving around the fruit, getting more towards the light, I'm just adding a little bit more yellow to make it a little bit more bright, a touch of white here and there, just to lower the intensity of the color as I'm getting to the light tone of the fruit. There's a tip that I can give. Don't look for the exact color. It doesn't matter. If I actually show this painting to somebody, at the end, they will never know that it is this particular orange that I painted. So if the color is not spot on, it's fine. Now I'm using the same orange to just give around the edges of the shadow. If you actually look closely in the reference image, the orange from the actual fruit is reflected onto the surface. It will also give a little bit of heat onto the painting and a contrast with a cool shadow. It will just make everything be that more exciting. Now going back to the surface, I've taken the same color that I was using, just added more white. I'm just lighting it up. And as you can see, it's actually making the orange stand out a little bit more. It's giving a bit more contrast onto the orange. Now just adding a bit more yellow into the color. I'm giving it a little bit more light. As you can see, my brush strokes are following the fruit. I'm actually making the edge of the fruit, which would be, I'm looking to make it a little bit more sharper. It will just allow it to stand out a little bit more. However, the edge where the light is the least, which is on the right hand side of the fruit, I've tried to keep that edge as soft as possible. And now it's just a question of adding a little bit more orange, or a little bit more red, if I must say, to adjust the tone to make it feel right. Now here for the little tip of the orange, it's just a mix of the yellow with the ultramarine blue. I'm just indicating where the tip will be. It will allow me to continue with the orange so I can actually see what I'm doing. I'm just adjusting again, going around the fruit, adjusting the tones, adjusting my values. Do I need a little bit more light? Do I need a little bit more shadow? It's the only question that I'm asking. Because the paint is not dry, we are painting what you call in alla prima. A good tip is to paint lightly. Don't press very hard. Just keep your brush strokes very light. The paint will stick to the surface. Now I'm using almost a pure yellow at this stage. It has a little bit of red, just so it's not a pure yellow, to actually make a bit more shine on the fruit where the light is hitting it the most. We do add sometimes a little bit too much, but it doesn't matter. We can just blend a bit in or take a bit off or add a bit more on the darks. So that's perfectly fine. I'm starting already with the light, and again it's just a question of touching the orange with the paintbrush, very slight. Keep the hand light, don't press anything hard, and just indicate where the light is, the lightest part of the orange. Starting to add a bit of the light value onto the fruit. So I'm not really taking any more red, I'm using the white with a bit of yellow and just indicating where there's the light tone on the fruit. Now again, I'm not looking to make it identical to the photo. The photo is a mere reference. Now I'm using actually pure white, and this is for the highlights. So it's my brightest brights. And just a little tap here or there. I'm just kissing the canvas with the tip of the paintbrush to indicate where the light is the brightest on the fruit. And as you can see, it will make the fruit pop. And now for the final result. Thank you ever so much for watching the video. It's been so much fun, and I really hope that you've learned a thing or two. Don't forget to subscribe, click on the bell icon, and if you have anything that you would like to see in a future video, put it down in the comment section. As well, follow me on the social media and we share your art, and that way we can grow this great community. Until then, see you next time.